if them bringing back Ben sent the message to everyone that this is win now. Them bringing back Juju, this is win now. You look at some of the pieces they brought back offensively, and it's like they give you the vibe that is win now. And they kept DeCastro. We said between DeCastro and Vince, those were two of the guys that could have got released. We even threw in Steven Olsen, but we also said Joe Haden, Stephon Tuitt. DeCastro's still there, right? So fine. So you get this perception that they're trying to keep that group together. But the problem that I have is it's all in the premise that the offense is going to be improved from last year, but the defense, even though it's going to take a step back, is going to take a small step back. But when you're looking at the pieces that are being lost offensively and defensively versus the pieces that they're replacing them with, I just don't understand that logic of how it's going to enter or equal success. Prime example, Marquise Pouncey, right? So with Marquise Pouncey, if I ask Steeler Nation, hey, how did he play last year? They're all going to say, terrible. He sucks, man. I'm glad he's gone. He's the worst center ever. For a fact, that is absolutely incorrect. Marquise Pouncey still a starting caliber center in this league. If he went to any other team right now, he would be the starting center. That's what he is. The problem is this: in Pittsburgh, we're not used to him just being a good starting center. We're used to him being the best center in the NFL. Because for the large majority of his career, what was he? The best center in the NFL. So when he becomes just a good center and he has bad snaps, and now you're starting to see these bad plays, and it's not like out of 60 plays, it's 60 bad snaps. No. Let's be real. When you really break it down, how many bad plays or how many bad snaps can we reel off the top of our head? Remember, we all bring up Cleveland. We all bring up the Rams. Where would it like that's my thing. But perception not equaling reality has people in Steeler Nation feeling that what? Well, we got J.C. Hassan now. We brought back B.J. Finney. Man, that's got to be an upgrade at the center position. It's not though. And it's not a shot at them. Fair.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily an upgrade.
Right, but that's the perception that people are spinning it. And that's the thing. I'm just like, I don't see how stripping the offensive line that was already, struggling last year, right? And now you're going to take Pouncey out of it because he retires. So it was like they released him, but he retires, and you haven't done anything to really upgrade that spot. I don't understand how that's going to improve it. Then we talk about left tackle. And now obviously you still have some flexibility because the Zach Banner sign, I still like that in terms of him being here, because if he wins out and he can start, great. You got him for a low cost. If you draft the guy and he gets beat out, well, he's a high end backup. So either way, you're good there. But I still feel like they have to bring somebody else into that conversation, because otherwise it's like the same thing could be said about Al. Now, granted, Al was never the best left tackle in the league, but for a while, Al was still
he make a Pro Bowl?
Right, he had a Pro Bowl in there, and he was still a very good pass blocking left tackle. Now you talk about taking him out of this thing and just, all right, yeah, Zach Banner, I know he's coming off the AC. I know he played right tackle, but you know what? Bump him over there. He'll be all right. I just don't understand why we have this confidence that is always going to work. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that really has me just unsettled. You know what I mean? With their approach this offseason right now, man.
Still moves to be made, though.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, man.
See what we do in the draft. Yeah. Now we have all this cap space. Maybe it could bump up to $20 million. I don't know what other restructures they could be doing with like Stephon Tuitt and Boswell and stuff. But yeah, I think that there's just hope. I don't know if it's simply just that we're losing pieces. Maybe you're just thinking we get an off season. I know we get the Castro back. Now we get Dotson in. You're just hoping it's better than what it was those last 6 or 7 weeks. You know what I mean?
But my thing is, where does the premise of hope come from, though?
Well, Dotson, and like I said with the Castro, maybe it was the injuries last year. Maybe he has a bounce back season.
But either way, both of those guys were still a part of the equation last year, though.
We didn't play Dotson, though.
No, but Dotson had starts. Dotson played.
I know, but when he was in, I swear we were doing a lot better.
Our run game still was non-existent in the back half of the year. He played in, was it the Colts game? He played in that Bengals game.
Well, yeah, it was the Bengals game when Snell played pretty well.
He played in the last game of the year against the Browns as well. Not the wild card one, the Week 17 one. But it was like the run game still was nothing crazy during that time frame. I mean, it was better, but it wasn't crazy. So that's my thing. It's just like you still are having the same pieces, but we're expecting something to be different.
You never know with Banner, though. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I just don't know if it could get much worse than last year. That's my thing. I thought last year was rock bottom. That was my thing.
So if you felt like last year was rock bottom, but I'm telling you, you're replacing the guys that were out there with players that aren't as good as those players. You catch my drift?
I get it, but I'm just leaning upside with that. I'm leaning upside on the DeCastro. I'm leaning upside with Banner. Maybe he could be better than Villanueva, and I'm leaning upside with Dotson. So we do maybe lose a little bit with Pouncey, but then who knows? You're like, oh, what could JC do next year? This will be, his second year?
Yeah.
Maybe he improves a little bit. DeCastro, or Pouncey was obviously, at the later stages of his career? What was he, 33, 34?
My thing is just an improved JC Hassenauer, an improved BJ Finney. Is that better than what we saw from Pouncey last year?
I'm not sure.
I personally don't think it will be.
Sure. But if we're talking about the line as a whole, maybe
which is right.
That could be a bit of the downside, but everywhere else, maybe we could see a little bit of an uptick.
Where?
Everywhere else. Like I said, if DeCastro is better than what he was last year, he returns to old form a little bit. We got Dotson coming in. Zach Banner, that upside play.
I need your optimism today. I ain't got it today, man.
Dude, are you hurting? What's going on?
Nothing. I'm just saying, like, I've had these conversations. I was actually, this would have been yesterday. I was talking again with some of the Steelers beat writers and stuff like that, guys who, like I said, I value their opinion and stuff like that. And we had the conversation of, well, man, we got this extra cap space created now. We know Steven Olsen's released. That's another need potentially, or at least inside linebacker or outside linebacker or running back. I mean, you could pick your poison of which spot, right? And we're like, well, yeah, so you kind of, I mean, we all should be expecting them to make some moves coming up, right?
Were they calling for Arthur Mote's return?
No, it was the opposite. They were like, don't expect moves right now from the Steelers. Don't expect them to go out here and spend any, crazy money these next couple weeks. And I was like, what you mean? Like, we got holes we need to fix, baby. You don't want to go into the draft like this. And he's just like, that's the vibes they're giving off right now. He's like, really? I don't like that.
See, I don't like that either.
I don't like that, yeah.
Because everything I've said up to this point is saying that just wait and see. We got some more moves to be made.
Right.
You could not like it now, but man, if we pick up a center, if we maybe pick up an inside linebacker, we get one of these cornerbacks, then it's a different story.
Yes.
Because now we have cap space. If we're not going to do that, I'm not the most thrilled about that either.
So now you see my energy today. I'm just like, bro, what do you, like, what? This isn't, I don't like going into the draft like this. But at the same time, it's like, I'm trying to wrap my head around that logic. Like, why wouldn't you use these resources? Because
bring us Fournette, bring us Bell.
Right, because this is my thing. I said, and this full circle now. Remember when I said I feel like they're kind of in limbo. They're not, they can go all in, but they can prepare for the future. And they're kind of like stuck between which way they want to go. So we say you bring back Ben and some of the pieces, you keep DeCastro and stuff. Those are all symbols of what? We're going to go all in for this year. We're going to try to do whatever it takes to be successful this year. But then on the other hand, when you're looking at the pieces they're losing, but then you look at how they're replacing them. It's not like we're replacing them with better. We're replacing them with the hope of them being better. But on paper and productivity and on tape, we haven't seen them necessarily be better. So it's like, are y'all planning to save money this year? Whatever happens, and now we're clean for next year going forward to make another run at this thing? Or are y'all really trying to go all in to make sure that, hey, we got the best chance for 7 and the guys that are coming back this year? But it's like they're in limbo. They haven't really made up a mind which way they want to go with it yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand that if we don't make any more moves in free agency here. That's what I was assuming with us relieving Steven Nelson.
Seriously?
All right, we're going to bring in a running back. We're going to get an inside linebacker. Maybe we'll get a backup tight end or something like that. We'll disperse the cap hit over multiple needs. Which makes sense then.
Yeah, because my question to you is this, right? I said, man, what is especially if this was going to be multi-year deals. Now, if it's a 1-year deal, cool. But I'm like, why would you get rid of Steven Nelson to bring in an older corner? That's going to potentially cost the same or more because it's a 1-year deal. Like, that's the part for me. I'm just like, I don't understand that logic. Like, how does that make you better? Casey Hayward, for example, you bring him in. Is he going to be drastically better than Steven Nelson?
I have no clue. Probably not. I don't know. Because like we said, there was only one bad game last year that I noticed Steven Nelson, and it was
Richard
against
Sherman.
the Bills.
You could put him in that conversation as well. And I understand from the name standpoint, it triggers people. The names, we said this plenty of times, certain people names is like, well, no, that guy has to be a beast because I remember him when he played in Seattle. It's not the same Richard of then, but he's still a very good player, without a doubt. But if I'm picking between him and Steven Nelson, I'm going to stay with Steven right now, especially with him already being in my system. I don't have to worry about any of the other things. I don't have to worry about, well, he has this bad habit. I got to get that up out of him, or he likes to do this. I don't really like that in our defense. We don't have that. But now you've created another need by making that move. So that's why for me, I'm just like, I don't like this, man. I mean, I understand it, but I don't understand it because
I don't understand it if we don't make any more moves.
Right. I feel like you got to make more moves.
That's where I won't understand it. I assumed with releasing him, now I'm all of a sudden all in on some of these free agent prospects. Right. Whereas, a couple weeks ago, I'm just like, are we just going to sign Juju? Are we going to do the bare minimum? All of a sudden, now I'm looking, all right, we could bring in Bell. We could bring in Fournette. We could look at Jesse James. We could maybe look at like Quan Alexander or something like that.
Plenty of options, right? If you're really going on the win now, because we've seen.
But if we don't do any of this, I will be a little distraught,
because it's gonna look like a team that did two things half-heartedly. They half-heartedly win now. They half-heartedly prepare for the future. And what does that give you? Average. And we don't want that. You think about the Rams, right? Rams are a prime example of a team that decided to go win now. You think about these past 3 years, what they've been able to do in terms of the players they've acquired, the moves, like super aggressive, trading picks, doing whatever.
Back and forth. Like signing good players, but also releasing good players. Yeah.
Seriously. But they went to a Super Bowl. Obviously, they got beaten there. And they still been, 2 out of 3 years been to the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And the year they didn't, they went 9-7.
Yes. So
last year they went to the playoffs and they beat the Seahawks first time.
And then the first year, we obviously said they went to the Super Bowl and lost to Brady and them. So you can see certain teams that have tried that method and the success that's come with it. We obviously know the other side of teams like us who typically just build from within the draft and things like that. But right now, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because we
unless they're keeping their cards close.
Which is fine.
But let's see some moves.
Yeah, I'm going to say you keep your cards as close as you want, as long as you make a move. It don't matter if you got ace joker here. If you just sit here like this, it don't help nobody. And that's what I'm looking at. Just like, all right, we've created some space now. Are we going to do something?
We have to, right? You're just not going to be sitting around with $13 million in cap space.
Well, because I'm trying to think. With the draft, I want to say it's
2 or 3 million.
I want to say it's $2 million for the draft. So you have that. They also, and this is the other thing. So we were breaking down the money. They were saying that the $2 million, it's like $2 to $3 million that they'll allocate for the draft. Then they said that it wasn't undrafted guys, but they said they still like to have like cushion money. So if August happens and we get a Joe Haden situation, right, where remember he was released late in the year or late during training camp, and we were able to go in there and sign him to a nice deal. They said that they like to keep extra money available if something like that happens. Now, granted, we've only seen them do that. Was Joe Hayden the only one that we saw?
Probably. I mean, when we signed Joe Hayden, dude, I couldn't believe it.
Bro,
I could not believe it.
We were in Carolina. I'll never forget this 4th preseason game. We're in Carolina. We see he gets released. We all instantly start talking to Pouncey, Gilbert, anybody that played at Florida with him. We're like, bro, call him up. We need to talk to him now, like ASAP. And then literally it went from joking conversation, these guys hitting him up, to he was in Carolina that night. We said, Lord.
So it was you guys.
Bro, we was heavy on him. Yo, we got to get him. We need Joe. And then from there, literally gets to the boss man, Coach T. I don't know who said what to who, but for a fact, we are.
You guys were the MVP on that signing.
We went to our night meeting, started like 7:30. And sure enough, Joe Haden walks in and I'm like, all right, okay, I like this. And then later he was right. Oh, yeah, we just signed Joe. It was like, dang, waste no time. Because remember, he wasn't released that long before we signed him. We hopped right on it, man.
It was really quick.
Yeah.
And I was just surprised we did that move, because probably 5 or 6 years prior to that, every free agency period, there's like
never spend money,
2, 3, 4 studs at cornerback. Mm-hmm. That was always our biggest need. Ike Taylor was really solid, but we needed someone else. Mm-hmm. We never got that guy. Never. Yeah. And then Joe Haden randomly is available in his prime, and we got him, which was just shocking.
And not only that, it was a division guy too. So not only do you make us better, but we hurt the Browns by taking him. Like it was a good situation for us. Which also, I mean, I hate to go back to the full circle element, but you hit on it, right? We always need a corner. We always say we try to draft corners, and the Steelers haven't been the best.
We actually have had corners these past 3 or 4 years.
But how do we get them? We pay for them. We pay for Joe. We pay for Steven. You finally get your cornerback position taken care of. And then you're like, all right, yeah, you go ahead. We're going to stick with this guy and these 2 guys that we think we evaluated well. But at the same time, like, how many corners have the Steelers drafted that actually have panned out? That's, you know what I mean? Like,
what's weird though is that was when we were winning the Super Bowls and going to Super Bowls, when we had Ike Taylor, Brian McFadden, Willie Gay, man. Like not the biggest name corners in the league. It is a little bit of a different league now. We did have James Harrison, Lamar Woodley.
It was very different. Yes.
Lawrence Timmons.
It was very different.
Some really good linebackers.
Yes.
And then even the first Super Bowl, Joey Porter.
And we're not going to talk about the guys who was up front. I mean, let's be real.
Right, exactly.
It was different. It was a lot different. But also the league was different, right? They don't pass nowhere near as much back then as they do now, right? And the rules are different. The rules are heavily slanted in favor of the offense as well. But I don't know. I don't feel as confident with these younger guys right now, man.
Understood.
Like Cam Sutton, yes, but it's Cam Sutton. I'm elite confidence in the slot. On the perimeter for 16 games, I'm a little uneasy because we haven't seen it from 16 games. I know the dude. I should be biased and be like, because I know him, the personal relationship should make it where, hey, man, yes, he's going to thrive and it's going to kill out there. But at the same time, it's like, I know how the ball game works. It ain't as easy as people make it look.
From a personnel standpoint, with how the roster is right now, that wouldn't be optimal, though, putting him outside.
Correct.
You'd want Pierre Lane on the outside, Sutton in the nickel spot. So
either way, that's why I started out by saying you typically want 3 starting caliber corners.
Yeah.
Because the amount of sub pack. I mean, think about Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton was never the starting corner, but he was always on the field.
Yeah, he's 60-70% of the snaps.
Easily. That's what the slot corner is now. That's how NFL ball works. The slot corner is the 3rd starting corner out there. So you got to make sure that you at least have another high-end guy there. But we shall see, man. We shall see.
Sure. Here's the thing. The floor is 8-8. It's only happened 3 or 4 times in the Tomlin and Ben era. And the times that we did go 8-8 were shocking to me, where I think we actually should have done way better. Mm-hmm. There's been times where people have been down on the team and we've performed, we've made the playoffs and everything. So if nothing else happens, that's what I'm going with. I think we're at least going to still be in the mix somehow, some way. I have that type of faith. I understand we've talked about this in the past. While you may be a little bit more critical of that, but I haven't seen it otherwise. So I'm going to be going with that. I do want to make moves, though. Trust me. Like I do think if we just sit on the sidelines here, we won't be using free agency to its potential.
Man, I think for me, I don't have an issue with them making the playoffs. Like, honestly, I can see this team being an 8-win team. I can see this team being an 11-win team, honestly. None of that
11-6 now.
Yeah, but
sounds a little weird.
It is, right?
10-7.
But to me, none of it matters because we don't look for just playoff appearances. If that's the case, last year should be viewed as a great success. Man, you guys bounced back from 8-8 to win the division and host a playoff game. Pat yourselves on the back. This is Pittsburgh. We don't care about that. So that's why for me, I'm just like, that doesn't satisfy me the way it like satisfies you right there. Where you're like, man, just knowing that, hey, we're going to be able to, win some games, have another playoff appearance, get a chance. That doesn't move my needle, man. Like my needle is moved when it's like, no, we're legit. It doesn't matter who you line us up against. It doesn't matter the location. We're going to win this. We're the favorite. We got this.
But that's how I felt last year. I still felt that way. I think we screwed ourselves in the Browns game. And then if you look at the Browns, they almost beat the Chiefs. If we're saying we were better than the Browns went on the road like that, and they almost beat the Chiefs. Who knows? We could have beat the Chiefs too on the road like that. But then the question is,
how can you say you're better than the Browns when you got beat by the Browns?
I understand that, but I think that was way more on us than the Browns being better than us.
But couldn't the Browns say the exact same thing in game 1?
What do you mean? What game 1?
Game 1, when we played them, game 1, the pick 6 changed everything in that game. Going into that game, the Browns were hot, remember? Going into that game right here at Heinz Field, we were talking about how the Browns, man, what they do in terms of running the ball could present some challenges, but we're going to see how we react to that. They never came back
like we did, though.
No, the reason why, remember, they took Baker out at halftime. Baker was injured.
It was like the third quarter. No?
It was the beginning of the third. He played one series in the third quarter and they pulled him. And we said, man, they actually conceded the game. We was like, we usually don't see this, but they kind of threw the towel in early in the third quarter because Baker had the rib injury going into halftime. So they could easily make that same case. We know week 17, we didn't have our starters out there. They did. Went down to the wire, they won. That wasn't no excuse in that wild card round, though. Our guys were out there. We were rested. We were good to go. They didn't have their head coach. They didn't have people. Remember, the all-pro guard and this and that. All these people missing. This guy's supposed to dominate that matchup. Oh, this should be a big mismatch here. And how did it end? So that's why the whole narrative of, well, we can say we're better than the Browns and the Browns almost beat the Chiefs, so we almost beat the Chiefs. Like, not so fast. Because when you really break it down, we don't show where we just dominated these guys anywhere last year.
Oh, dude, I don't know.
When did we?
I feel like that first game.
So they should be saying they feel like the last game then.
Yeah, but we were right there. I mean, we spotted them 7 points right off the bat with that snap. It would have been a 5-point game in the third quarter.
Okay.
It would have been a different story. Okay. Maybe not a different story, but who knows? The Browns tighten up a little more.
Okay. And I would say this. If the game was closer, the Browns are not taking their foot off the gas when they go up 4 scores. Because they clearly took, you can watch the tape and you start seeing prevent. You start seeing, we're going to let you get a ton of yards underneath. You get those yardage. We're going to take that clock, though, because you're going to keep milking the clock. And that's the approach they took. I'm not opposed to that. It makes perfect sense. So, yes, in theory, we came back, air quotes. But anybody watching the game, no, it was never in doubt. Like,
bro, he almost threw a pick 6 to Steven Nelson. It was close, man.
So now we're counting almost pick 6 because you know how that other coin goes.
I'm just saying we were really playing with house money in that second half, and the Browns almost blew it. They really almost did. If that snap didn't happen in the first half,
did they blow it? Yes or no?
They did not. But
that's all that matters right now, bro.
This is why I'm still confident in the Steelers going forward. Where I thought we were Super Bowl contenders last year, I think we will be this year. Like I said, I just haven't seen anything different over the past however many years with Ben and Tomlin. Okay. Even though the results haven't been there completely, I've always thought we've been in the mix. We've had many injuries in the playoffs, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I will be disappointed if we don't make moves in free agency, though. Yeah. I will be clear about that. But even if we don't,
you won't be disappointed if we have a first round exit in the playoffs, as long as we make.
I will be. I was disappointed last year. Okay. I was definitely disappointed because you're right. The goal is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's only so many teams. Honestly, like Brady's just been running the table. But think of how many teams have been so consistent winning Super Bowls over the past 20 years. It's been us, and it's been Patriots and Brady, really. Mm-hmm. And then
past 20 years, but the past Saints, 10, we haven't had a lot of success postseason.
You have the Saints, the Packers, the Seahawks. They all have a Super Bowl there, and they've always been in the mix.
But we talked about for us in Pittsburgh, we haven't had a lot of playoff success in these past 10 years. This past decade, we don't have a lot of playoff success. So when we keep saying, well, yeah, man, we've been a part of that mix. Yeah, we've been a part of it. We actually haven't. We haven't.
We've had some bad breaks.
You're making a ton of excuses, but at the end of the day, the result is what? We haven't had success. So every time we bring up, well, man, I mean, we have success, man. As long as we got Ben, we got a chance in the playoffs, we got this. And it's like the past 10 years, where has that gotten us?
I'm just saying we've had some bad breaks. I get it, but I don't know what else we would have done different, really. That's my point. I thought we've always put out probably the best teams we could over the past 10 years.
My whole perception is just status quo isn't enough. In that statement, it just reminds me of status quo. When you're like, well, what could we have done differently? Something differently. You know what I mean? Because we know what we've been doing. That didn't equate to success in the postseason. So clearly y'all could do something different. Try something different. That's all I'm saying, man.
But hold on. So with this case, though, isn't this different? Because we don't have Bell, we don't have Brown.
I don't think it's
personnel's different. So that's what I mean. Like, what?
I don't think the case is different. I think in terms of,
are you talking about just like mentality with how they operate? I'm talking about how they're
going about constructing this roster. Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Okay.
How is this any different? You said, man, they never really spend money like that. We talked about how they never really go out there.
No, my thing is it's different from the standpoint we don't have a stud running back. We don't have AB in there. Although our receivers are going to be pretty nice this year.
You said as long as you have Ben, it doesn't matter.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I still think we'll be fine. So why is it different
then? Huh? So how is it different?
So are you talking about just Ben then specifically?
I'm just saying in general. What is so different this go around than what we've seen in the past 10 years?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that more.
So it's a good question. Because my thing is, if we can't figure out what's so different about this year compared to other years, why are we expecting different results? That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results.
If anything, I would say we've mixed it up, though, in the past 10 years. We talked about the Joe Haden signing, the Mike Mitchell, getting Steven Nelson in here, Eric Ebron. Like, I think that's different than what we're used to seeing.
If you say so.
That's my take. I would have to think about that. That is pretty interesting. Like, what could we say is different about how the Steelers are operating this free agency over the past maybe 10, 15 years or so?
Yeah, I just don't see how it's been any different. I just you got the ability to make some, impactful moves. You have the ability.
Let's hope they do.
Right. That's my thing. I'm like, you have this ability. You have it. It's in you are capable of this, Deke. Like, what did they, come on, man. Call them up, bro. Call them up, man.
Here's the moves they need to make. Because if we got $13 million right now.
Well, and we didn't even talk about. They brought back Chris Wormley, so does that shore up the interior D line?
No. Well, hold on. Fournette. Let's do Fournette. Let's do Jesse James. I don't think we really got to worry about the offense then for free agency. We could draft maybe a center or left tackle.
Okay.
And just one more player maybe on defense we need to bring in. Who could that be? Could it be Quan Alexander?
I mean,
he's hurt, but there could be some upside there.
Any linebacker that you can get like that, whether he's going to come in here and start or at least compete. I don't care if Robert Spillane is starting. I don't care if it's Marcus Allen starting. I don't care if it's Ulysses Gilbert starting. I don't care which one of those guys start. I just want to make sure that they have earned the job and it wasn't given to them. Right now, this is going to be given. Think about when Vince got his starting spot. It wasn't given. He had to scratch claw every day to get that opportunity. Think about even with Shea. Shea had to work. Now, granted, he got the opportunity a little earlier because of LeBeau, but he still was having to grind to keep that thing to go there. Myself, I had to get my opportunity the hard way. Like, I just feel like guys that have had to work harder to get that starting spot, it means more to them. And typically, because they've had to earn it, they had to go through that fire, they play a lot better with it. Versus the guys who, well, just by default, you got to be the starter here. And we don't have anybody that's going to pull you out. So, have at it. Just enjoy yourself. That typically, from my experiences, hasn't breeded the best results. So when I think of this, I'm just like, I feel like you're about to do that again. Just give guys jobs and just hope for the best without them actually having to earn it.
Well, it's looking more and more like we might take that linebacker in the first round, like you predicted way back. Right. I didn't think there would be a chance. Dude, I really didn't. But
linebacker, bro.
But these dudes are studs, though, too.
Yeah.
Some of these dudes, Zaven Collins, Owusu Koromoa from Notre Dame.
I seen they were talking about the cat from Missouri too. Is it Bolt?
I don't know where the hell he's came from.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's bolting up draft boards or what, but I don't remember him being on the list whenever we were doing that mock draft. And then they're saying Parsons, he's going to go in like the top 10 though.
Yeah, he's gone. If Parsons available to us at 24, if he's even if he's on the board in the teens, you got to trade up and get that dude. Like he's one of those guys.
Well, it's a Devin Bush move then.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll do it. I think he's gone before then.
Okay.
Yeah. You think he'll be out there?
Oh, I don't know, but I just really want to bring in Fournette, dude. If you really sold me on that last time.
That's the thing. I still want to do that.
We can definitely do it now.
Do it, right? That's the thing. You can definitely do that.
At this point, too, you could splurge. You could do $5 million.
Like I said, it just hurt me when I'm talking to these beat writers and they're like, "Don't expect it." I'm just like, "What? No, what? Wait, no, yes, we need to. Yes, this has to happen.
It should."
And by doing that, it frees up so much more in the draft. If you're going into the draft where I have to hit on a tackle, I have to hit on a running back, I have to hit on a linebacker,
a lot of pressure.
I have to hit on a outside linebacker, regardless of if it's depth or starter. Those are 4 spots you have to hit on. Hit
on 2 of them in free agency.
Think about our best drafts that we've had these past couple of years, right? The TJ, James Conner, Juju, Cam Sutton class, right? 4 guys, all of them either are getting second contracts or have played to their second contract potential, right? But not all 4 of those guys were starter in year 1, right? Not all 4 of those guys were the best of their position in year 1. Not even in year 2. Some of the guys, it took a little bit of time to develop. So for me, when I'm thinking of, all right, we just talked about those needs right there that we just listed off, you're putting a lot of faith in rookies that are coming off of pandemic seasons where some of these kids haven't even played a full 10 games this year or 12 games. Some of these dudes play 5 games, 6 games. And now you're like, all right, go out here and play with these grown men. And I need you to be good. Starter good. Not just depth guy good. Starter good. That's where the unease continues to arise. Because that doesn't happen a lot. Think about how many rookies we miss on.
Yeah.
For all the rookies that we talk about, think about how many we actually miss on that we just kind of, all right, we ain't gonna talk about that guy. Just we're gonna forget about the back half of those classes. Just talk about the top 4, top 3 picks. If they don't do anything else significantly in free agency of being able to address running back, being able to address a linebacker position, then you're going to put yourself in that basket come draft time where you have to hit on every single pick. And it's just not realistic that that's going to work.
You're preaching to the choir. I definitely want us to make some nice moves here in free agency.